Tell us what inspired you to do it.
I got the fatal call that my mother was diagnosed with cancer. She was 53 when she was diagnosed. She went into the bedroom, shut the door, and she didn't really come out. There was nothing good about it at all. And when HBO called, I definitely thought I was being punked. 6 months later, they got the green light. It was nominated for an Academy Award. The moment I got back from LA, I got a stack of mail. I went to my legal counsel and they said he's got one or two options: rip up the checks or start a charity. That was the moment. That was the pathway. This is what I need to do in my life.
Welcome back to the Reinventing Beauty Podcast, where we explore transformation and beauty through connection with salon owners from around the nation and world.
All right, today we are joined with a great new friend of ours, Rachel. She owns a salon in New York. Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a salon owner for 35 years, actually.
Congratulations.
And I have one salon. I always am impressed by my colleagues that are able to open many, and I just kept it really to one, and it's actually worked for me. I'm quite successful. I am deep rooted in my community. I have a terrific team. People have worked for me for 10, 15, and 20 years. I don't really have a lot of turnover, and I think that's attributed to my feeling about owning and leading and working with people and not having them work for me. And through that success, I think that my real deal about being an owner of a salon is I think it's important that if you're successful, to share your success with the less fortunate. Money is not just the key to the kingdom. It's also about making yourself feel useful while you're living on this earth. And that's pretty much what I'm about, which leads me to, I think, the reason why you wonderful people have asked me to join this podcast is to talk about my foundation, which is a cancer care foundation. I could get into that a little bit, but I can go on and on if you don't stop me.
No.
So.
We definitely want to hear about your foundation. Why don't you start from the beginning? Tell us what inspired you to do it. Explain a little bit about what it is.
So in the early 80s, I was living in Manhattan and I was not yet in the salon industry. I did many things. In order to live in Manhattan, I had 3 jobs because that's what it takes to live there.
Right.
And then, of course, I got the fatal call that my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I'm one of 6 children, 5 daughters, 1 son. I pretty much had to wrap up my apartment and come home because it was a call to, come and help her through that traumatic time. She was 53 when she was diagnosed. And the interesting thing about my mother, that she was an Italian mother. My father and her were very progressive Italians at that time, and he allowed her to have a career, many careers actually. She was a real estate broker. She was a wedding planner before that term was even invented. She just was a woman that never put a bottle of ketchup on the table. She always put it in a dish. She was elegant. She wrapped gifts like no other. So when she was stricken with this horrible diagnosis, she really was hit like by a truck. She didn't know what to expect. And it was a time, it was barbaric cancer diagnosis then, because you went in for exploratory surgery. And when she woke up with no breast. There wasn't really a sense of what patient care was about at that time. They certainly didn't know enough about it. And at the same time, AIDS broke out. And I remember being with her in a store. She had no brows. She had no eyelashes. She was pale. She had no hair. She had a wrap on her head. And people didn't want to touch her because even at that time, people were afraid to touch people because of AIDS. Mm-hmm. So she kind of got pigeonholed into that world. And then she got through that one diagnosis, and then it came back a year or 2 later to another part of her body. She had to go through a tremendous amount of treatment. And she really went into a deep, deep depression because while she was this dynamic human being, she went into the bedroom, shut the door, and she didn't really come out. She didn't want her daughters to see her mangled, as she called herself. And so the truth is, for us 5 daughters, we were quite young. We didn't know how to process it. She lived till she was 58. So it was a 5-year journey. And it was a horror journey. There was nothing good about it at all. And we didn't know how to process it. So, and we were quite young, but it wasn't until many years later when I came back to Long Island, I hooked up with a really good friend of mine who was coincidentally dying of AIDS at that time. He was my hairdresser. And he asked me if I would be willing to buy his salon because he didn't have any money to leave with his partner. And that's kind of how I fell into the beauty industry.
Wow.
But at the same time, I was doing just as another side job, working for Chanel Cosmetics, and I learned how to be a makeup artist. So I really loved the beauty industry on the side, but I knew nothing about it. I was 26 years old. I bought his salon, and that's really how my journey began to that point. It wasn't until I sold that little salon 4 years later, I opened Racine, which is my salon now of 31 years, that I thought, years later, what can I really do in honor of what she was dealing with? I dabbled a little bit into philanthropy in terms of working with local charities and doing fundraisers. You guys probably do this in your own salon. Can we do a fashion show, or could you donate a basket? There's a million things that we're constantly asked about to do for our community. But I said, what can I really sink my teeth into? What can I really do? I went back to my salon, my girls, and I said to them, I'm thinking that I know a really prominent gynecological oncologist in the area. He's a good friend of mine. I'm going to have dinner with him. I'm going to ask him, maybe he could send us some patients. Since we're closed on Mondays, would you, my team, be willing to just come in and service some people? Let's just do some manicures, some pedicures, some facials, maybe do a little makeup on them. And that's kind of how the foundation was born in 2002, I want to say. And it went well. I mean, he was sending us the patients. My team was willing to step up and really do the services, but I had to keep it quiet because a lot of local papers and media got wind of what we were doing, and they wanted to do a story. And I'm like, look, I can only do what I can do. If I publicize this, I'll never be able to handle what would be an onslaught of people contacting me and saying, can you help me? Can you help me? And, I had some local people cooking some soups and baking and sewing up some stuff. And we really made it a little bit of what we call now as a formalized program. And it was many years later, I got a phone call from HBO. Now, I'm a humble salon owner in a small town. And when HBO called, I definitely thought I was being punked. There's no doubt about it. It's not happening. I don't know what this call is all about. But they called back again. I kind of hung up, and they called back again. No, we're serious. We're looking to do a story. We heard you were doing something along the lines of shaving heads. There was a blog in the New York Times from a nurse who described when a woman especially gets a diagnosis of cancer, her first question to her oncologist is, am I going to lose my hair? Not, am I going to die? Not, am I going to get sick? It really is the first thing that comes out of a female's mouth when they're diagnosed. And so they wanted to explore that aspect. And they asked if they could come in and do some pre-filming because they had to prove to HBO this was a worthy documentary that they wanted to do. And 6 months later, they got the green light. They filmed for 2 years.
Wow.
And so you got to remember that I did this once a month on a Monday. So that's why it took so long for them to do the filming. And quite honestly, it was mind blowing just to even be part of that, to have an HBO crew there. And then the film got released. It went on a tour across the United States. So I went with the producer and the director to just do speaking engagements about the film, what the purpose of it was. And finally, in 2013, I got a call from the producer and director that it would, because it garnered so many awards along the way, but we got the call that it was nominated for an Academy Award and that I was being invited to Hollywood to walk the red carpet with the film, which, again, humble salon owner, what the hell am I wearing? Where am I getting my hair done? Where am I getting my hair done? And the truth is, it was an experience that will forever be embedded in my brain. I will never forget it. I was with my sister, who was actually involved with the salon at the time. She was a makeup artist as well. So we actually both were invited, and the film did not get an Academy Award that year, but I will tell you that my community, they were all in bars. They were all watching it like they were watching the Super Bowl. You know, you can only imagine the support. But the moment I got back from LA, I got a stack of mail, and in that mail were checks from all over the world. People that were touched by the film, people that had family members that passed from being cancer, and they please put this money to good use. And honestly, Nicole, I wouldn't know. I was shaking. I didn't even know what to do at that point. And I went to my legal counsel and I went to my accountant. They said he's got one or two options: rip up the checks or start a charity. And that was the moment. That was the pathway. That was the pathway of what Monday's Cancer Care brought to me. And what I was going to do with it was then a new learning experience, because I was one salon.
Right.
And because it got so much publicity, then with how are we going to manage this? So I could go on and on and on again, how that journey took me, where that journey took me to this day. But it really was my mother was my inspiration. And for me to bring it to more of a humanistic aspect, because I was so young when my mother was passed and struggling through the treatment, I feel it's every time I do take care of a cancer patient now, it gives me the opportunity to care for her that I didn't. So it's like I'm doing something for her each and every time I'm taking care of a cancer patient now.
I love that.
I feel good about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think as anybody that's been in the industry, whether you're a stylist, you work the front desk, anybody that is involved in the salon environment at all, we've all been exposed to someone, whether it's our client, our coworker's client, somebody who takes the initial phone call at the front desk, and learning how to navigate that is challenging. I mean, it shouldn't be challenging. You just have to love people, but you feel so, I don't know what the right thing to do is. I don't know what the right thing to say is. Of course, if it's a client that you love and you've been connected with for a long time, you want to do something to help. But again, really, what can any of us do besides just love on a person? I say all the time, when they come back after they've experienced chemo, their hair is growing back, I never charge them for those services. It's just something that I do. And I don't say that because I want anyone to know that I don't charge them. I just don't know what else I can do. And that's usually they're uncomfortable and they're like, no, I want to pay. And I'm like, listen, this is something I can do. I happened to meet you on a bus at a hair. We ended up in the same.
Where we were supposed to sit next to it was serendipitous, because we just flopped down at those two seats.
Yes, and twice we had the opportunity to sit next to each other. And I had heard about what you do, but I've never had the opportunity to meet you. And as the conversation evolved, I knew when we open in our new space that I wanted to be able to partner with, Monday's Cancer Care. And so I'm excited. What is it that you can bring to a salon? How does the organization work, or how do you support salons now that are interested, or maybe just don't even, we want to be able to spread the word and say, hey, this is an option for people. And this gives us a very structured support. We don't have to figure it out on our own.
Right. Well, first of all, the simplest way for me to explain it is we have the space as salon owners. Yeah. We have the people. We already are licensed individuals, so we know how to do services. All of the oncology services that we do are backed by our oncology board. They're approved. It's products, clean products, which, of course, as you know and I know, we both are Davines titanium accounts. Davines, I can't even tell you. I could tell you what you already know, but on my side, on the Monday side, they have supported my charity for many, many years in so many ways. And their products are clean enough to be approved by the oncology board. So you have the people, you have the space, you have the products. The training that what my organization could provide are all done by individuals that have oncology training, beauty and wellness services. So to formalize it in that aspect, to come into your space, and you'll have to just figure out who's going to be part of your team that's going to do a Monday's program. Let's say, for example, we would go into a deep dive about training them on that. And then really just I want to touch upon what you just said. It's like, what can I do? And I wanted to do this, but I've learned one of the most important things in dealing with people, women and men, by the way, we take care of men as well, is that listening is the key, not talking. It's like hearing them, because we as salon people, we're so like, the conversations are back and forth, and I know this and I know this and you know this and but this case, this is a time to really just listen to somebody. And we're not here to give them cures. We're not here to give them, we're not doing research or anything. The only thing that I am capable of as a salon owner and my team and my vast amount of providers that now work under our umbrella is that this is the chemotherapy and radiation is an assault to the body. It's enough that your mind is now saying, I have cancer. Now I've got to put this horrible medicine in my body and be radiated and get burned and get mangled and surgeries. And it's such a terrible, terrible thing to watch somebody go through it. And for them to come to me or my team or somebody like you, and for you to listen and understand and be able to take something out of your pocket and say, this is what I can do for you while you're going through this to offset the ravages of what you're going through, is going to give you such peace. And you're not going to struggle with that, because you're going to understand that you're able to do that. So in the technical side of it, of us coming in to train your team, there is also an emotional training as well for a lot of your people. We've worked with grief counselors, we've worked with psychiatrists, we've worked with meditation specialists, people that, breathing becomes a challenge. They hold their breath the entire time. They don't even know how to exhale it. So we have people that can pace people and teach them how to breathe, and we could bring that to your table. We can bring all of that information to your table and offer these things. And then it is up to you to tap into your community. Who's a yoga master? Who's a Reiki master? Who can do grief counseling? And let's get them to come to my space and ask them, can you volunteer to come in to add to our beauty services? Because we already have that down pat, right? Not everybody loses their hair, so they need hair color. We could do that. Head shaving is something that we come in and teach. You probably already know how to do it, but there is a finesse to it in terms of dealing with the cancer patient. Perhaps there are wig people in your world. We would ask you to also identify those people that come and help your program and provide those services. And you know what? I was speaking to the executive director after we all left Italy, and I had such a beautiful outpouring of interest in what I'm doing. I've got 6 or 7 salons that, like yourselves, that are interested in what I'm doing. And we're kind of creating a new offshoot of what we do here locally in New York, because we're saturated in New York, meaning on Long Island, I have 22 locations right now that do my services. Now, that ranges not only from salon and spa people, but it also is barbers. To handle our male population. It also is yoga studios, acupuncturists. We have gyms that do soft exercise for these patients. So when I come into let's say a community such as yours, I'll give you all this back in education, yes, but I'm going to ask your people like you to tap into your community. And it is also about, I only serve healthy foods during my programs.
Right.
We don't, have anything fried. We're very cognizant of the dietitian and diets, because if you're going to come to a Mondays program, we want to be entirely clean in our approach. And we want to teach them that, listen, you got to stop putting this crap into your body because you're fighting the fight. You have to learn how to relearn how to eat again. So we could also provide you with dietitian information.
Amazing.
So there's so much I can give you. I mean, I have an arsenal, a complete
information, right?
That could be mind blowing. But I can guarantee you guys are so successful in what you do, and the little that I've learned about you, and even from the Davines family, that you're gonna run with this in your own brain. You're gonna say, well, we could do this, and we could do this, and we could do this.
Right.
And remember, all of this is at no cost, zero cost to the patient. Now, there are some people that can afford it. Just like you said, oh no, let me pay.
Yeah.
We have clients that could afford it. It's not about the money. It is for the people that it never could afford to come to your salon. Think about the impact on somebody. Now, I do massages at my salon. So some of the people that come into my salon have never had a massage a day in their life. They never could even fathom putting that in their budget.
Right.
Imagine the impact of now they're dealing with cancer. They've never had a massage, and now they're having people touch them in that way. That to me is the Shangri-La in what I do, But for the people that come in and say, oh, no, I can afford it, I still want to pay, you have to convince them this is not about money. This is about allowing us to really help you through this. The mirror is a powerful tool. When a woman looks into the mirror and she sees herself totally changed by chemotherapy, it could put her in the bedroom like it did my mother. So what we can do, you and I, is lift them and make them feel like, you know what, I could put a funky wig on. I can go to the dinner with my husband on Friday night. I can go to the soccer field and not feel ashamed of how I look. That's the Monday's mission in a whole, to make people feel like they are human beings. We're not poking them with medicine. We're not pushing stuff down into their veins. We're lightly touching them. We're painting their nails pretty. We're making them stretch in a yoga session just to open up their bloodstream. That is really what the Monday's mission is all about.
So as far as one of your guests go, or somebody that's going through cancer treatment, and they came into a salon, what would that day look like for them?
Yeah. So the first and foremost important thing is that they have to bring what we have designed is a medical release form to their oncologist, because we keep very detailed records of each and every individual. Why? Because if in the event something comes back from their oncologist and they need to understand what happened, let's just say that they had an open sore, stitches, or a radiation burn. If something happened during their journey at a Monday's session, we would have to report that back to the physician. So, and the physicians, the oncologists, have to guide us. They have to say she cannot get massages. He cannot get a manicure or pedicure. He cannot go to a gym. That is that's the legal part of it. That's very, very done very well, and you would understand all that. Well, that paperwork would be completely understood before you even began your program. But the timeline pretty much works like this. We would help you connect to your local hospitals and oncologist offices, so they are aware of what you're doing and they could refer the business to you. Right?
Easy.
Then we work on a software program where I have a navigation team, wherein that the patient would call an 888 number. My team would answer the call. They would say, well, I live in close by Essray and I want to go to their salon. Great. What are you interested in? They book the appointments for you. So all you really need to do is open up your schedule that day, and you'll see your lineup of who's doing what. After we have established the services that you would like to provide, what else we can do. And then when the patient arrives, They fill out an intake form because you'd want to know that they came in. That gets attached to their file online, and that digital stuff is baked in, and we're going to give that to you as well. And then you run it like you do your salon. Oh, you're here for a massage. You're here for a head shave. You're here for a single process. And we usually try to curve it down to 2 services per visit, per program, because we want to make enough room for many people. We don't want it just to be like, oh, one person's doing a day of beauty, right? So we'd have to keep it, we kind of keep it controlled that way. And the people understand that, and you really run it like you run your own space.
Amazing. That's crazy. It's unbelievable how many details you guys have worked out. I mean, it's.
Oh, Nicole, I mean, this is trial and error. This, we were tripping and I'm tripping. I'd like to be tripping every day. No, but we were tripping, and having, it was, it's so interesting because I had an interview with perhaps a news assistant today. And she's like, I want to become a hairdresser and I want to wait. And I'm like, have you ever tried to jump on a ladder? So, have you ever tried to jump on a ladder? You can't. You can't jump on a ladder. You got to go step by step to get to the top. And same thing with this. I could not have done this thinking I knew it all. I had to learn as I went along. I mean, we really had to have a lot of legal advice as we went along because it's people's lives. We're taking care of people. It's not like our regular salons. You have regular insurance to cover anything. God forbid somebody trips on a wet spot on your salon floor, but this is a little bit more serious. So all of that stuff we had to learn along the way, and even running a charity. I mean, I know nothing about running a 501c3. There's a lot involved with that, and you have to, and there's a lot of eyes on us about where the money goes. And we've created graphs, and we could show people that 98 cents on every dollar goes to patient care. The rest goes to administration. Most of the people that work for us are volunteers, but we've learned that we also had to start hiring people for people to show up,
right,
to take it serious. So we have a core group of people of maybe about 30 people that get paid because Mondays while it started as a salon and spa inspired, Racine was the mothership and we first started. We've also been asked and beckoned to go to now infusion centers. So I have a team. We call it Mondays on the Move. And we do pop-ups and we'll go to infusion centers. So while people are actually getting chemo and actually getting radiation, we can go in and do foot massages on them and feed them some good food and lower their blood pressure. Because when you go into treatment, you start getting very nervous. And some people can't get treatment because their blood pressure is too high. So we have meditation people going in to do that, lower their blood pressure so they could properly get their treatment. Because one thing you don't want to do is postpone a day of treatment, right? You don't want this to go any longer. So it was a learning experience, and we were able to refine it, as you mentioned. And we have a well-oiled machine. I'm proud to say it's a very well-engineered program that we are able to do. I could just tell you for the public's knowledge, we've serviced over 30,000 people year to date. And only in the last 12 months, I've already serviced 6,400 people. And it's growing, and it keeps growing because, cancer is there's no bias. Doesn't care if you have what your religion is, doesn't care who you're voting for, doesn't care about how much money you have. It's relentless, so.
And I think it is everybody's been affected in some way. Nobody escapes it. And so.
You have to be living under a rock if you're
Right.
when it comes to
Exactly.
treatment. It's crazy, yeah.
Exactly. Do you have any advice that you would give to anyone that's, any salon owners, any stylists out there that are like, I want to do something, but I'm nervous to try and get involved, or I don't know where to start? Because you obviously are like the best example of that growth and what that process can look like. What would you say to them?
without having to get involved with Mondays, let's just say that they, didn't really want to take on such a big program, start off small. I mean, I started off small.
Yeah.
You already doing it. Like you said, Nicole and Nate, you guys, how many times have you've gotten your greatest clients? I just got diagnosed. How many times have you heard it? And you're already you go into gear right away. It's like, oh my God, what can I do for this person? We're already in that headspace, right? Even when we hear that from our clients. So I started off in such a small way. And I did it, I did it because of my mother. I mean, that was my catalyst. But I can only imagine how many salon owners' parents have been diagnosed or siblings or children for that matter. So when you're touched by it, you kind of just, that's your motivation. But if you just want to do it, you just start off small. It is about getting your team together because you can't do it by yourself naturally. And you need a couple of people to help you out. And believe me, the first day that we did it, the second month we did it, third month, my girls were in the lunchroom shutting the door, hysterical crying. I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could. And some people had to bow out. And some people said, no, I'm doing it. I am doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So you'll get that, and you just try to, like I said in the beginning, I feel so strongly is that in our industry, we're responsible for making people look great. Okay, that's great. But we also need to be responsible for people who are suffering in some way of fashion. It's our responsibility because we worked hard to be successful, and let's do something else. Let's do something really good,
Well, if a salon owner or a team was to become affiliated with Mondays, what's the process? How do they get in touch with you, or how do they get information on how they can serve others?
So I could leave you all my credentials. I don't know if you want me to just shout it out now and just so that people could get in touch with me, but
Sure.
we could certainly contact me at Rachel@racinespa.com. That's RACHEL at RACINESPA.com. And could start the dialogue right there and then. They could contact me on Instagram. Racine Spa is my tag. Direct message me if you'd like. Email me at Rachel@racinespa.com.
Yeah.
Many ways to reach out to me. I am the chair of the board of Mondays, and I am one of the founders, but I do have an executive team, an executive director, and a deputy executive director. I would then put you in touch with them, and then there's a program director, and all of these people would then start to vet. And by the way, I mean, it's not, I just don't say, yes, everybody could do it. A salon has to be financially healthy in order to do this. Their space has to be a clean environment.
Right.
We do a lot of vetting having to do with that. We don't do really what they call a security check because we're not allowed to do that, but we do our best to check people's backgrounds because we don't really want to have any trouble along the way, but we take it seriously. And if people really want to get involved, they have to know that we take it seriously, so.
How do you do it all? How do you, I mean, it's crazy.
I had to put an executive director in charge, and it's actually one of my sisters. All of my sisters are involved with our organization in one aspect or another. Again, you guys run a thriving business. I still run a thriving business, but I'm not a hairdresser. So I got into, like I mentioned to you before, I never went to beauty school. I just really took this industry by the horns and ran with it. But so I don't really need to be present at Racine. I have an amazing managerial team that runs my operation, and I can have, be there or not be there. And so I do parcel myself out to support the charity and run my business at the same time. But listen, Nicole, I would imagine, I'm sure I could say the same thing to the both of you. I mean, I have 6 granddaughters that I, really want to color with every day. I want to sit with crayons every day with them. But, I want to also leave them a legacy and something really good that their grandmother was able to achieve. So
yeah, there's no doubt that you're doing that. I mean, I was sitting here thinking, yeah, you may not be a hairstylist. There's no doubt that you are not one of the greatest leaders this industry has seen. So thank you for what you do.
oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me in, and thank you for rethinking of me, because I know we were all partying away in Italy.
I mean, there was a small amount of wine involved.
It was a great trip. I'm sure you both agree. It was a very successful trip, but I'm touched and I'm honored that you even thought about me again. And I'd love to offline speak to you a little bit more on how we could go forward.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to move forward. I'm excited. And I'm excited even for the salon owners that we know in St. Louis that we've been sharing your story with, that are interested in being involved as well, and just seeing where we can take this thing from our area, from our demographic.
Generally, at the end of every podcast, we ask our guests, how do you leave this place better than you found it? But I think with this particular episode, I think we already know.
Yeah. It would be pretty hard to expand on that any further. Yeah, you're just incredible.
I will mention to you that I could wear many badges. A founder, who cares? I'm board chair. Yeah, who cares? One thing I will tell you is that I am at my program no matter what. I don't care if my kids have pneumonia, okay? And I pride myself. I want to be there. I want to do that work. So while I still need to support myself financially and have a profitable business, but if I didn't need to do that, I would be doing this all the time. This is what I need to do in my life. So, I appreciate. I wanted to mention it because I think it's important that we could step away from our roles as leaders.
Right.
And, even though if I'm not at Racine every day, I'm still there. I'm there a couple of days a week, and I'm making sure everybody's okay. But, that would be my,
that's what you would be doing. You found what you feel is your purpose, and you certainly didn't shy away from it. So thank you. It's amazing. Thank you for
having me.
Our pleasure. It was really a pleasure. I can't wait to continue the conversation.
Thanks.
Yeah. Same to you.
Blessings.